The pipes are calling. Oh, Jesus! Fuck! Oh, my skin! She's peeling me fucking stuff! Fuck!
Sausage Party is a film that I feel can be summed up by its first line of dialogue. Shit! Now, this isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, far from it. I mean, I could have been watching 9 Lives after all.
Just drown me.
And don't get me wrong, I don't hate Seth Rogen. I mean, Superbad is one of my favorite comedies, but even though a lot of people found it to be the best thing since sliced bread, it wasn't my cup of tea. A lot of Sausage Party's humor is based off being as crude as possible, whether that be in saying shit and fuck a lot, or making sexual jokes or racial stereotypes. And whoo boy, there is a lot of racial stereotypes. Now, I'm no stranger to stereotypes. I mean, I love Mel Brooks films, and not all the stereotypes were unfunny. I can think of a couple situations where they made me chuckle. There's a couple of Nazi jokes I liked, and the Native American liquor bottle was pretty funny. All of the stereotypes are based on where the food is regionally from, with their eyes representing their nations, which leads to some jokes about borders and the expansion of territories, which were pretty hit and miss. A lot of the humor strengths come from either puns or when they play with the idea of the characters being food, but in a way that's either subtle or isn't overly in your face. A good example of this is when there's this war scene, and there's an Oreo that's been split in half, and he's putting himself back together. A good deal of the film centers around the idea of religion, and how it's just a form of comfort food to make us feel better about the uncertainty and the fear of what comes after our life is over. This is the film's biggest intellectual point, and to be fair, there are some moments that the film is clever with this idea. In the beginning of the movie, there's a song the food sing to show their love for the gods, which parodies the trope of songs in Pixar films. And later on, there's a scene that talks about the origin of the song, and how each of the owls have misconstrued it a bit to fit their own thoughts, which I found to be pretty clever and funny. Even with this entire theme of sexuality, it feels like it's trying to hammer these things in too hard. And much like a board of wood that's being attached to the gallows I wanted to hang myself from while I was watching this film, the harder you hammer, the more likely it's gonna splinter. Frank as a main character was fine, and Brenda the Bum was okay, I guess. As I mentioned earlier, I did like the character of Firewater, and Michael Cera as Barry was decently enjoyable. But outside of this, the characters, for the most part, felt kind of hollow, save for the douche who's, well, a douche. I'm going to get into some minor spoilers here, so fair warning. Towards the end of the movie, there's a scene that a lot of people have been talking about, and I've mentioned it before in my adult animation video, and that's the food orgy, which I didn't find funny. Like, at all. Most of my theater found it to be pretty hilarious, so maybe you'll find it funny, but I didn't. It just feels like it's trying too hard to be shock humor, something I feel can be said about a lot of the film's humor. The priorly mentioned douche character also ends up playing a bigger role in the story overall, but his inclusion honestly felt kinda pointless. You could completely remove him from the plot and the movie would feel exactly the same. To me, he ended up feeling more like a way to pad out the time of the movie, as well as a way to fit in more sexual jokes, rather than as a way to further develop the plot in meaningful ways. So overall, would I recommend Garbage Fest? I hate to say it, but yeah. Not because it's good, I found it to be chuckle-worthy at best, but because this film is such a gamble and such a rarity in Western theaters. We hardly ever see rated R animations come to wide release in the US, and like I said in my adult animation video, we really should support in the hopes that more films like it come out, albeit either clever or funnier. So go see it. Go take the family. The whole family. All of them. Don't forget Grandma. She'll want to see it too. Okay, bye.